Okay, today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2002. This is an interview with Henry Rizzo of Niskayuna, New York. I'm Ed Roger, and I'll be conducting the interview. Mr. Rizzo, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us here. You served in the Navy
Yes,
in World War II,
Right.
correct? Okay. And on this information that you provided here, you said you served in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean and the Pacific theaters
yes.
before it was all over. Great. What was your role? What work did you do in the Navy?
What did I do in the Navy? Well, when I first went aboard, after I got my training at Sampson, I trained at Sampson for 4 weeks. It was quick. And they shipped us off to Pier 92 in New York,
Sampson is where?
upstate New York.
Okay.
It was a naval training station. They shipped us up to New York, Pier 92. And we were there until we got assigned to a ship. I was there overnight. Next morning, I was sent to the Brooklyn Navy Yard and aboard the USS Chase. First time I ever seen a ship in my life, because I was only a young kid at the time. And then I was served aboard as a seaman.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went across, you want me to go to?
Now let me back up a second here. When you started, you enlisted in the Navy.
Yes,
You
I
weren't
did.
Drafted. What do you recall? Why you enlisted? Was it everybody else was doing it? It was an adventure.
No, it was because of what Germany did to us. You know, you were gun-ho for your country. That's what it was. And when you're young like that, you want to go out and help your country, and that's the reason why I went.
Did you have a lot of friends that signed up at the same time?
Yes, there was a couple of kids on my street, and they were both in the Navy, and we never crossed our paths. He was on a carrier, and I was on a destroyer, but we never got together.
Was the training? It was at Sampson. That's up in that's around Seneca Lake or something.
Yes, up Genoa, I think, Genoa Lake or whatever it is up there.
Geneva, yeah.
Geneva, that's it, Geneva.
Was that a new experience for you to,
Oh, yeah.
to go off there?
It was the first time I was away from home.
What was that like? Do you remember?
Well, it was a little rough. You know, you don't know anybody. You're just packed in like cattle. You know, everybody, when you first get there, they give you a complete physical and shoot you with needles, and then they issue you uniforms. And then they bring you to a barracks,
Okay.
and you're assigned to a barracks. And then that's about it. Mostly it was issue in your clothes, and then you just trained, you marched a little bit around, and that was it, because they were in a hurry to get us aboard ships. Most of my training was aboard the ship.
Were you did you want to get on board ship and get this training?
Oh
over
yeah,
with?
I wanted to get on. Oh yeah, sure. I wanted to get away from Sampson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then you went to New York and you got on the ship at Pier 9 at the Navy Yard?
at the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Okay. And so what was that like? What were your first days on the ship like? Do you remember?
Well, that ship looked enormous to me, but it wasn't. When you come back now, that I go back, it looks awful small.
Mm-hmm.
And it was enormous, and they lined us aboard the deck, and they assigned us duties. Well, I never
duties did you get?
I never shot a gun in my life. And the officer just pointed, you're a gunner, you're a loader, you're over here, you're over there. And he pointed at me and he says, you're a 20 millimeter gunner. And that's it, that's where they put me. And that's where I was assigned the whole time. But then, I was a seaman, so all we did when we were crossing, it's very boring. You don't see nothing but water, you know, the ships that are in the convoy, and you chip paint. Boy, they're very neat with that. You got to clean the paint, you paint it, and then do it over again. You come back and do it again. So they had on the bulletin board, they had an opening for a ship's cook, striker they called them, to learn how to cook. So I said, this is the place for me. I said, I don't want to do no more of this shop and paint. So I put my name down, and I got it. So I went in the galley, and I assisted the cooks. I was learning to be a cook.
So that was your day-to-day responsibility, but you were
First
still
I was a
gunner, right?
seaman. First I was a seaman, then until I got to this cook job,
Yeah.
and then that was my job all the time after that. For the rest of my time in the Navy, I was a cook.
But you remained a gunner?
Oh yeah, your battle station, your GQ station didn't change. You always, that was your station, that was it.
Okay.
there was one incident when I first got aboard on the gun. We used to do target practice as we were going to settle up our convoys. We'd have planes come over with the sleeve, and we'd fire at them. And my gun was right below the captain up above on the deck, and mine was the first 20 millimeter below that. And they told us the sleeve was going to come over, and to fire short bursts. Well, the 20 millimeter has got a hairline trigger on it, and when you pull the trigger, if you don't let go right away, 60 rounds go right out. Well, I pulled the trigger and I forgot to let go, and I hung on to it, and I just fired 60 rounds all in one shot, and the captain looks off the bridge and says, "I told you, short bursts." And that was the first encounter I had with the captain. And it was kind of scary, you know. He was the oldest guy aboard ship, actually, because everybody was 18, 19. The officers mostly were 20-year-olds, that's about it.
Was that gun fed with a belt?
No, it was a round
box magazine or something?
magazine that you snapped into the top of the 20 millimeter.
And you had somebody...
Yeah, you had a loader, a talker, and a gunner. There was 3 of us on each gun. Then you had your 3-inch guns and so forth, all the other equipment aboard there.
So did you get better as a gunner and able to
Yes, yes, I got used to pulling that trigger, and I knew what to do.
Yeah.
But that kind of scared me because the captain was right there, and that's my first big bad encounter with the captain.
How was the captain and the officers in general? Were they okay, or did the crew have troubles with them? Or?
No, the crews didn't have troubles with them, but you know, the officers were segregated away from the crew, and they were the captain. You were kind of afraid to even talk to him or anything, you know. But the officer that was in charge of the galley where I went into, he was a very nice guy. He got me to take tests, so I when I first went aboard, I was a seaman 2nd class, and he says, "I've got to give you tests so you could get upgrade." So I went from seaman 2nd class to 1st class seaman, and he says, when the opening occurs, one of the cooks, another opening occurs, we'll take the test and you'll get your petty officer. But that never happened because well, the war was over by that time.
But generally, you thought your officers were okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Especially Mr. Wright, my officer. He was a nice guy.
So initially you were on convoy duty across the Atlantic?
Right.
And was that back and forth?
Back and forth. We went from the Brooklyn Navy Yard and hooked up in Maine. I forgot the place in Maine, and we picked up more convoy ships, and from there we went over to the Atlantic and through the Gibraltar and into the Mediterranean.
And delivering the convoys
Bringing
where?
troops, convoys, ammunition, fuel to different ports. We stopped at different ports, Algiers, Casablanca, all around.
And then you turn around and come
Turn
back?
around and bring the empty tankers back.
Okay.
And escort them back out because of the submarines in the Atlantic, too. So we had to worry about them. And we brought them back and forth. That's what we did.
How many ships would be in a convoy,
Oh,
roughly?
it varied. 50, 60 to 100 to 200 ships. And then there would be our division, which consisted of about 7 or 8 of us destroyers, all around screening for them.
And that was the Navy, with 7 or 8 destroyers?
Yeah, we had one Coast Guard cutter with us.
But all the rest were the merchant ships?
Yes, all the rest were merchant ships.
Big responsibility.
Yeah, and that first day, like I told you, the first convoy I went across, we lost a lot of people. The USS Hamilton, the transport, I think we lost 500 troops were aboard that. And that got hit by a sub, and as she went down, everybody went down with her. We didn't find a survivor for that one. We lost a lot of people there.
And this was on your first?
My first convoy duty, yeah.
Were you fired on directly on your ship, or?
Well, we were attacked by the German aircraft, dive bombers. They came in from Africa, and they weren't after us mainly. They were after the supply ships, and that's what they went for. We were just to protect them, but we didn't do too good of a job at that time. We got hit bad, and we got hit with not only the aircraft, they had submarines there too. And in fact, when we first went in, we picked up a sonar of a submarine. Instead of sending us, they sent our sister ship, the Fletcher, USS Fletcher. She went out after it. She got hit and sunk. that could have been us, because we were there and they sent us out to pick up the survivors. We felt kind of bad because she was our sister ship. We were commissioned together.
Is this all on the first trip over?
Yeah, all this happened on the first trip.
Hmm.
This is the first sea battle I ever was in on, and the first time I ever seen planes coming at you, you know.
And as an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's scary. It's scary. It's not scary until after it happens.
What, I mean, do you remember, or can you visualize, what was in your mind at the time it did happen?
Are they going to hit us?
Are they going to hit us?
Are they going to come
Were you
and drop
concerned
a bomb?
about doing your job?
Yeah.
And,
Oh yeah, we were at our battle stations all day and all night after that, you know, to keep it, because they were afraid more of them were coming in. But we were all scared. We were all young kids. Like I said, everybody aboard that ship was 18, 19 years old. The officers were the oldest guys aboard the ship.
had any of them had combat experience?
No, they never were. They
The
never.
officers either?
No, they never were. They never were in any
No.
combat service part. That's the first combat the ship ever had, and the crew. We were all fresh, new. Because we came from Sampson, then there was other ones that came from different parts of the country, and they were sent to Brooklyn Navy Yard to go aboard the ship. They were from all over. And it's all something new for every of them. And it was, you don't realize it until after it's over, that we could have got killed or we could have got sunk. And that was our first experience with it.
Now, did your ship take any hits directly in that
No,
engagement?
no. Our sister ship, the Fletcher, got
It
it.
was all around you said
Yes,
that.
yes. In
But
fact,
you,
I got
you were
this.
involved in...
Yeah, oh yeah, we were shooting at it. In fact, I got the schematics. That's what I had there, showing how they came in at us.
Mhm.
And then now that you know that we look back on it, you look at that schematic and you look at it, and some of the guns were all over. Them planes are all over the air there. And it was scary.
So how many convoys, how many trips back and forth did you make?
Jeez, I think we made 3 or 4 more after that. And then we got orders that they wanted us to go to Boston. They wanted to convert us to an APD.
Before you get to that, let me go back a second here. On the convoys back and forth, did you, at either end of those trips, did you get liberty at all? Were you in the Mediterranean? Were you ashore?
We got liberty in Brazurti, but there was no place to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got liberty onto the base, where they were loading and unloading. You got off and you went like on a beer party, they used to call them. And they gave us that 3.5, I think what they called it, beer.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was not much liberty on any of them. The only place we had liberty is when we were, you know, before we went out on convoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like in New York, we'd have liberty for an 8-hour overnight.
So each time you came back,
Yeah, you got
New York,
liberty.
you got some time off.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we didn't get liberty to go home
Right.
because we were standby all the time. As soon as the convoy was ready, we were off to go. We were ready to go, so we had to go. But we'd get overnight liberty. We'd go into New York City, you know. When you're an 18-year-old running around New York City, you know.
What'd you do? I mean, can you remember?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Drinking a lot.
Yeah.
I never drank before, but I learned in the Navy. Not that we overindulged, but I mean, at times we did. But we'd go out to clubs and go out to dinners, and we always went in groups.
Yep.
We always went with a group of 4 or 5 of us, always went together all the time. And we always shared a cab going into New York from Brooklyn and coming back. And we all bought our tailor-mades in New York. You know, everybody got rid of them Navy issue uniforms, them heavy wool uniforms. We got them garbadine tailor-mades ones. In fact, that's the only thing that I survived from my ship when we got hit.
Okay. Okay. So then you moved into the Mediterranean, right?
That was nice. We went to, oh, you mean, yeah, we went to Mediterranean with the convoys.
Mm-hmm.
Then after when they converted us, you want to get to that now?
Yeah, well, again though, is there anything else while you were still the DE that we ought to talk about, or any
No,
other experiences?
that was it. We just went back and forth with convoys. That was the only
Okay.
action we had. We went 4 or 5 more times after that, but no.
That first trip was the only.
Yeah, it was the
only
only
action.
one that we got.
Okay, just one other question before we leave that then. On board ship, the shipboard life itself, you were a cook at this point. And,
No, I was a seaman at this
a
point.
seaman, but you were
I wasn't in the galley at
you
that
weren't
point.
in the galley at this
No.
point. Okay. there were moments when you were off watch and, you know, just hanging out. What did you do? How did you occupy?
Well, I learned how to play pinochle. We played a lot of cards, and we had movies aboard ship. And each ship had different movies. So when we got together, we'd switch from one ship to another. We'd shoot a line across each ship, and we'd trade movies. So we used to have movies. But you see them once, and that was it. You don't want to look at them again. You know, you get tired of looking at them. Mostly you played cards, or you laid on the deck, or you listened to music on the radio. They'd have the radio open for the guys.
Did the captain or anybody on the ship, did they keep the crew informed as to where you were and what you were doing?
Not until after we went to sea.
Okay.
After we got out to sea, they tell us we're hooking up with convoy so-and-so, and we're going to go there to the Mediterranean, drop off a Brazilian, whatever ports we had to drop off tankers, and that's all.
And then along the way, would they keep you posted as to here's where we are and here's where we're going to get?
Oh yeah, you knew where you were. They would tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, they would tell you.
Okay, so then you were converted to an APD.
Yes,
And an APD is?
a high-speed transport.
Okay, so you were transporting troops, really.
There were troops, Marines. We carried Marines.
And where did that conversion take place? Where was
The
ship?
conversion took place in Boston. They converted us to an APD in Boston.
How long did that take?
Oh, didn't take them long. It took them several months, I think it was. That's all.
What did they have to do to the ship?
What they did is change our superstructure. They took off, we carried 3-inch guns was our main battery. They took them off and put 5-inch mounts. They put a 5-inch on the bow and a 5-inch on the fantail. We had a 1.1 amidships. They took that off and put quad 40s, 40 millimeters. And they put more 20 millimeters around. Then they put landing boats. They had to put the landing boats, and they had to put the cranes to pick up the landing boat up and down. And then they had to put more berths for the Marines or whoever we were going to carry with us to sleep on. And they expanded our galley a little bit because we had to cook for more people in the crew. The crew.
How many extra people beyond the crew would you carry on one of these things?
I don't know how many was in I don't know what they called it, a squad. It was a squad of Marines is what we carried.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how many of them were in it, but there was maybe 50, 60, 70 people.
With their gear and equipment?
Yeah, with their gear and equipment.
So this conversion took place in Boston?
Yes.
You said it took 2-3 months to do it. And what were you doing during that time?
They assigned us to barracks
Okay.
at the base, and that's when they gave us our first liberty.
Okay.
And that's when I first came home.
How long were you able to be home for?
I was home for a week. And then we had, because everybody had to rotate. Everybody was being rotated to leave, and they always had to have somebody there. And we were still working on a base.
Yeah.
We were assigned duties on the base, you know, help out, and we'd go aboard ship, see how things were going with the ship. And they kept us busy, put it that way.
What was that liberty like? I mean, was that nice to come home? Or
Oh, gee, yeah.
yeah.
I was gone for, about a year then,
Uh-huh.
you know, and never got home.
How'd they treat you? Were you the big hero?
Well, my brother was in the Army too. He was in the Army though. I was in the Navy, but he never got home. And he went over there. He never got back. Yeah, he got back after the war, but I mean, he never came out of liberty. And it felt great. My older brother, he was a bartender in the bar, and I brought a friend of mine with me, Carmen Guzzo, who we were pretty tight in the Navy, and he came home on liberty with me, and he spent the whole week with us down here. And my mother and father, he was Italian and I'm Italian, and he had Italian food. We always cooked Italian food. My mother always cooked Italian food, and we had a good time.
Good. Okay, so you finished Liberty, you went back to Boston.
Yes,
And then at some point you got back on this converted ship.
yes.
And what was your assignment there?
I was still a seaman, and that's when they had a listing on the bulletin board saying they needed an extra cook, striker, to learn to cook and eventually become a full-fledged cook.
Okay.
So I said, I'm tired of chipping paint. Let me go in the galley because I know the cooks got it good. You know, they're on duty,
Yeah.
and then they could sleep in,
Yeah.
where the rest of the crew couldn't go in their bunks. Once you were up, you were working all day long or doing something. You couldn't go lay down the bunk.
Okay, your battle station was still on a...
Still on a
gun,
20,
on a
right.
20, right? And did that, was there any difference in the gun or the gun mount after the conversion?
No,
So,
the 20 millimeters were the same. The only difference was they took the 3-inch, our main battery off and put 5s, and they took the 1.1 off and they put 40 millimeter, and they took our torpedo tubes off because they couldn't have them in there anymore because of the boats.
so you didn't have to learn anything new
No,
for that,
no,
for that
no,
thing? I mean, this was
no.
basically the same deal.
It was the same thing except we carried troops.
Yeah.
That's all. They closed up the side of the ship a little bit. That's where they put bunks for the...
So how many trips did you make with troops?
We only made one. We went without the troop. First we went through the Caribbean, through the that was nice. We went through the Panama Canal. You read about it in high school, you know, the Panama Canal. And here I am in the Panama Canal. And we had to lay over because ships going through couldn't go one way, and you know, they're only one way. You couldn't go two ways through the Panama Canal. So if there were ships coming through, you had to wait till they completed their run, then you got through. So we had liberty in Cristobal, Panama. What a wide open city that was. Oh my God.
Why were you down there, though?
We were going through there to get to the Pacific. Instead of going all the way around,
Okay.
we went through the Panama Canal.
Okay.
And that was something, you know, and you've read about it in school and then you see that, you know. And we went through, and then we went to San Diego. That's where our main base was supposed to be, San Diego. And we docked there until we were ready. And we got some Marines aboard, and we started to go out. I forgot what beach it was. The Marines came from Camp Pendleton, and we put them aboard our ship. We go out, and we went into invasion. We dropped our boats, the Marines mounted, and they went into this beach. And we had to learn how to drop them off and fire our guns to protect them on the way in there. Because we had to get pretty close to the beach. We were in a big ship like a battleship. And we had to get fairly close, within 5-10 miles of the beach, to drop our troops off. And we were practicing that, and then they gave us, after that, they gave us a patch to put on our uniform, which we were amphibious personnel. You know, they had a red patch with a boat on it, like hanging here. And you had to qualify that to be amphibious sailor. And that was it then. We didn't know where we were going to go. We got orders to say we were going, scuttlebutt went around saying we were going to go to Pearl Harbor. And we did go to Pearl Harbor. And we stayed there for a few days. Then we left Pearl Harbor. And while we were out, that's when the captain told us we were going to an invasion, but didn't specify where. And we passed all them.
You had troops aboard now.
Yes.
And where did you pick them up? In Pearl?
And San Diego.
And you took them to Pearl and then
Yes.
and then on?
Yes,
Okay.
no. And then when we got to, I forgot what island it was. There was Guam. Well, one of them islands, I don't remember exactly. We dropped off the Marines. They went someplace else. And then we picked up another group of Marines. And we went on. And then when we got, he didn't tell us where we were going, but we knew, we heard, you know, scuttlebutt going around. We never heard of this Okinawa. I never heard of the place, you know, nobody ever did. And we went in and we went into the invasion of Okinawa. But we weren't the main task force for the invasion. We were a diversionary group. We went in on the opposite side of the island where the main task force was going to go. The main task force was going to go on one side, but we went on the other. And we dropped these Marines off there. That's the last we seen of them. We dropped the Marines off there as if we were invading there. Not just us, but other groups. And that was Easter Sunday. I'll never forget that either. That was Easter Sunday, and we really got, oh my God, did we get hit? Not hit, but explosions. I've never seen so much fire in my life. At night it looked like the sky was lit from the firing of the guns.
Mostly aircraft?
Yeah. Our aircraft carriers were out there. You could see the planes going overhead. The big battleships were behind us. The Tuscaloosa and I forget what other one was there, was behind us, and they'd be 10, 15 miles back of us, and they fired them big 16-inch guns, and you could hear them things zooming over the top of your head. And that was scary, you know, hearing it. You know it's alive, then all of a sudden you see something explode, because we were real close to the beach, and we were firing that 5-inch. And then after they got word that the main force landed, we pulled back. and we regrouped with the main invasion force. And then once we secured the beach there, we were assigned to picket duty. All the destroyer escorts and APDs were assigned to picket duty. Picket duty is what we used to go out on the perimeter, I don't know if it was 20, 30 miles out from the island, and because the island is near Japan, and we would face Japan, and we had radar and sonar, and we would go up and down and cruise up and down. When planes were coming in to hit our ships in the bay, we would warn them they were coming and try to stop them, fire at them to hold them back. And that's what our duty was all the time. We'd go out there, picket duty, and come back and let her relieve you, go out, picket duty, picket duty. And every night a ship was being hit. Them people were crazy. I mean, literally. Would you have the guts to dive your plane into in a ship knowing you're going to kill yourself?
These were the kamikaze?
Yeah, that's what they were. They came in waves. Oh, it's scary. Every night there was a ship hit. Every night.
Did any of them come after your ship?
That's the one that got us.
Tell me about that.
Well, we were out on the picket line, and a bunch of them suicide planes were coming in, and we were firing at them, and we hit the son of a gun that got us. We hit him, but he didn't explode. We didn't hit him where we blew off his wings. He was carrying 2 bombs. He was a Betty bomber. It was a Japanese Betty bomber, they call it. And he came in and he had 2 bombs on him. We hit him. His wings ripped off, but he didn't hit us direct. Our captain, good thing he was a smart man, I'll tell you that. He veered pretty good to get away from him, but he missed us, but he dropped about 10 yards away from our ship. And the bombs went forward and ripped our hull and blew our hull open. So we were directly hit. If we were directly hit, we would have had a lot of people killed.
Where did the bombs hit?
Below our water line. And they ripped over our hull below our water line, and our fuel went off. Well, I got a picture of this. You wouldn't believe we survived it. And we were really, we couldn't stop the water from coming into the ship. And
you have a photo of it? Let me pause this for a second. This is a photo of the APD that Mr. Rizzo was on after it had been hit by a kamikaze plane. The tilting structure on the right is your ship,
right.
And the other structure to the left is a rescue ship that was coming in behind to help you out, I guess.
Right, and to protect us.
Okay. All right, we're back on camera. So can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like? That picture makes it look pretty awful.
It was. We didn't realize we were hit or damaged that bad because we weren't hit direct. We were hit under our water line. But see, our guys below, the snipes, we call them snipes, they were the guys that were in the engine rooms. They were the ones that really got damaged pretty bad. They got hurt. We were lucky. There was 37 of them, of our crew, that were wounded. We're lucky that no one was killed. And we tried like hell to keep her afloat, our pumps, and then we lost power and we couldn't. That's when we looked like that. When we lost power, we were more upright. Mm-hmm. We lost power and our pumps weren't working. So then the destroyer came alongside and they sent a crew aboard with submergible pumps and started pumping water out of us. And we started to straighten up a little bit, but then our captain was afraid we were going to capsize and he ordered to abandon ship. Well, another ship came alongside us and all the crew had to do was step from our ship to their ship. But a lot of us didn't realize there was a ship on the other side. So when they said abandon ship, me and several others didn't hesitate one bit. We dove right off the top of the ship. We dove right off the side of the ship. And we were picked up by a destroyer out on the water. But if we'd known, all we had to do was go on the other side of the ship, we would have stepped right aboard another ship and never got into the water. That was scary.
And your ship went down finally?
No, they held her up. Oh. They pumped all the water out of her. I don't know why they did it. I would think they would let it sink. They pumped the water out of her, and they got a couple of tugs to pull her into the bay, and they put her in dry dock. Mm-hmm. That's when we seen where the damage was really in. And they put us out, they hooked, once they got it in dry dock, they plugged into power, and the crew, we got all the crew that they rescued aboard the ship, put us back on the ship, and we lived on the ship. Because they got its power from the dry dock that generated its own power.
What can you remember about what you were thinking, or what you saw your crewmates doing right at the time that hit, right after the explosion? Was it confusion or?
No, we were
people-
still firing like crazy guys, because there was planes all over. That wasn't just the only plane there. There was other planes coming in and diving, and we were just kept out at our stations and kept firing.
Remember, were you scared, or were you mad, or what?
You were scared. You were real scared.
Okay.
You knew we got a hit because the ship shook,
Yeah.
but we didn't realize how bad it was, because it didn't flood right away. It gradually started to flood, and then we felt the ship going this way. And that's when we heard the abandoned ship, and off we went. But we got the guy. We got credit for shooting a couple of the planes down. 'Cause, you know, they during the war, they used to put them on the side of your smokestack, the silhouette of what you hit. And we got one German plane we shot down, and we got two Japanese planes we got shot down, and we had them on our smokes. And you're kind of proud when you have that on. Then when you see when the big carriers come across there, and they got them, the whole flight deck full of them pictures on them. And then they brought us, and I can't believe it, after they repaired us, the war was over. They dropped the bomb, we were repaired, and the war was over. They took all the essential equipment off our ship, because we couldn't steer. Our after steering was jammed and blown off. It was all ripped off. Our bottom was all ripped off. Our steering gear was all ripped off. They towed us from Okinawa to Guam, from Guam to Pearl Harbor, from Pearl Harbor to San Diego. And then they sold it for scrap. And we all had enough points to get out. You know, there was a point system to get discharged from the service. We all had enough points to get off. And they shipped me to a carrier, USS Munda. I was assigned to that for about 3 days. They put me on, it was a troop transport. It was carrying troops from all over California that were going to get discharged to Treasure Island in San Francisco. And I thought I would have it made there on the troop ship. When they found out I was a cook, they stuck me in the galley. All the other guys were hanging around, you know, laying around on their bunks, but they needed guys to, you know, feed the people.
So you had to go to work.
So I had to go to work, but it was short, maybe a week or so, and then we got to Treasure Island, and of course I had enough points to get out, and I was assigned there, and then we waited there until they got a troop train. That was another experience. We had to wait for a troop train. It took about 3 or 4 weeks to get a troop train because they had to fill it. You know, people that were going to the East Coast from the West Coast. And that's all it was. I was service guys, Navy, Army, everything, you know, coming back east. And they're all down there. And there was no sleeping. There was just the regular Pullman cars, you know. And we slept there, and they're all over the place. It was an experience. And every time a big train came by, we had to be sidetracked and let the main train go by. But I'll tell you, the Salvation Army was good to us. Yeah, every time we came to a train station that we stopped for a little bit, they'd be right there waiting to give us coffee and cards or whatever the heck they had, you know, to give out to us. They gave all the guys to make you feel comfortable, you know, that you're coming home, which was good. Then from there, I went to Lido Beach, and that's where the discharge,
In
Long Island. That was where they discharged all the people from the East Coast. We was there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, a week maybe. And we went through indoctrination, and they tried to get you to re-enlist because they needed people for the ships yet, because of the,
Yeah.
and that was it. And
Not for you.
and that was enough for me, and I came home, and I got discharged.
So you came back to Schenectady then,
Yes.
right? And what'd you do? What'd you do after that? Once the war was over and you were out of the Navy?
Well, they had the 2020 Club. I don't know if you remember that. The unemployment they gave to servicemen. They gave you $20 a week for 20 weeks or something like that. So all of us signed up for that to get that. And we'd look around for jobs. And I went down and, well, I used to work, before I went, I was working at American Locomotive Company. I was a rivet catcher. There's a throw of rivets, I don't know, a throw of rivets, and I used to catch them with a little bucket, and they put them in, and they were for the tanks they used to build up here. So I didn't want to go back there. I didn't like that because sometimes you miss the rivet and that hot thing is flying around, you know. So I went down to the G and I applied for a job down at G. I got in there and I worked there for 40 years until my retirement.
Great. What'd you do at GE?
I built turbines.
Okay.
I worked in the turbine department, then I was on the erection floor, which assembled the turbines. Then later I got laid off and I went up at on the Campbell Avenue where they make the insulation for GE. And I worked there until I retired.
Do you think that there's much or anything about your Navy experience that affected you or influenced what you did or how the rest of your life went? I mean, or was it just an episode and then you moved on for that? I mean,
I think you kind of try to forget it.
Mm-hmm. But you've maintained a lot of contact with your shipmates, right?
Oh yes, we have reunions every year. We have reunions every year. I forgot how many we've got. The only two we missed is one, my wife got breast cancer, and one, I got cancer, and we both survived it. Mm-hmm. And them are the only two. We've been to every reunion since they started them. And little by little, our crew has drilled them down.
Is it a reunion each year? Or?
Every year, every year. That's what that book here is full of, all pictures of our reunions. In fact, I got a picture of me when I was in Chicago reunion, me and a friend of mine, Corbett. We were talking one day, and he says to me, geez, you know, I still fit in my uniform. I says, hey, you're not the only one, I do too. He says, well, we were going to Chicago for our reunion. He said, when we go to Chicago, he says, why don't we put our uniform on and bust the guys down, you know, the crew. And we did. We went and we had the reunion, we were going at our dinner, we excused ourselves, we said we had to go to the bathroom, we put on our uniforms, and one of my friends, Virgil Tatum, he went in and he says, hey, he says, we got a couple of sailors here around Liberty, they want to come in to see some old salts. Can they come in? And they says, yeah, let them come in. But I'm not, they'll have a drink with us. And when they seen us, they went crazy. In fact, they put a picture of us in the D News, mm-hmm. You know, with the uniforms on. They says none of them guys could fit in the hats, let alone I can't fit in it anymore now. I was only 118 pounds mm-hmm. when I went in. I'm about 140 now, but you know,
great.
And that was it.
Is there any other thing about your experience in the Navy that we haven't talked about that you kind of like to? Well,
I've never seen. Did you ever see depth charges explode?
Those movies.
I've never seen that. Yeah, like you say in the movies. When we were after them submarines in the Mediterranean, and we rolled them things off and fired our K guns, they used to let our fantail bounce right out of the water. Mm. What an explosion they are! I don't know how many submarines ever got away. Mm. If they were hit by one of those things, they were gone. That was something. And now I'm associated with the Slater down here in Albany. Mm-hmm. It's not the same. It's the D, but my D was a Berkeley class. It was a different class. And I know I donate to it, and we're trying to fix it up to bring it back to par. And we go there occasionally, and I belong to the DES Association, which is a DE association here in Albany. I'm a trustee on the board there, and that's where your officer came and
right.
talked to us when we were at one of our meetings. Right. And I keep in touch, and we had our reunion here a few years ago because they all wanted to go aboard a DE that's still afloat, and we all went aboard there.
Are there many left that are still afloat?
No, it's the only one afloat.
The only one?
The only one afloat. And when we go aboard there, I can't believe how we used to fly up them gangways and through them little cubby holes with such speed, you know, and get to your gun station. Now I got to barely hang on to the ropes to go down.
That has something to do with the magic of youth, I think.
Yes, I think it is, yes.
Okay, well, Mr. Rizzo, thank you very much. This was a wonderful interview. Let me dump this here.